So, recently I decided to visit a historic Anglican church. No, it wasn't St. Paul's Cathedral, or Westminster Abbey, or Durham Cathedral, or York Minster, all of which I have been to. No, the church I was at was historic Christ Church in Fort Macleod, Alberta. Why is this small Anglican church located in rural southern Alberta historic? Well, I'll tell you why. The story of the town of Fort Macleod goes back to an outpost founded by the Northwest Mounted Police in 1874 to stop Americans from illegally trading with Aboriginal tribes, particularly in the trade of whiskey. However, the NWMP didn't bring any chaplains with them at all, and thus the officers would lead the men at Sunday morning services. In 1878, a priest from England, the Reverend George Mackay, came into the area to open a mission to the pagan Blackfeet tribe, while also ministering to the Anglicans at the nearby fort. Eventually, Canon Mackay was tasked to set up a parish for the growing community, and the Parish of Christ Church was formed in 1885. However, only 1 year later, the original church burned down under dubious circumstances, and the present building was completed in 1887. This makes Christ Church the second oldest Anglican church building operating in Alberta. However, Christ Church is historical for more than just its age, but also for the events that have happened at it and the parishioners that it has had. Have you ever heard of Brigadier Frederick Harvey? No? This Irish-born Canadian immigrated to Fort Macleod in 1908. In World War I, he earned the Victoria Cross while serving in the Lord Strathcona's Horse. Both his marriage and funeral were held here. How about Henrietta Muir Edwards? The founder of the Victoria Order of Nurses, she's better known as being a member of the Famous Five, a group of 5 women who challenged the fact that women were not considered persons under the Canadian Constitution. This was her parish church, and her funeral was held here in 1931. How about Howard Clark? Born in Fort Macleod in 1903, he would eventually go on to become the primate of the Anglican Church of Canada. This was the church of his childhood and youth. In fact, this is the very baptismal font used for his baptism. Speaking of the font, it was given to the parish in 1900 by a Chinese immigrant named Chow Sam. At age 46, this local restaurateur was baptized here and gave the gift of this font, which has now been used by the parish for generations. The church is also remarkable as to what didn't happen on Christmas Day of 1918. The town was in the midst of an epidemic of influenza, and everyone was quarantined. Thus, Christmas was effectively cancelled. In fact, Christ Church only recently made history in 2010 when their current incumbent, Pilar Gateman, was ordained a priest here at Christ Church. The truth is, you don't need to go to a big, magnificent, ancient church to see one that is historical. Sometimes they can be just around the corner. So, if you're ever around the town of Fort Macleod, you should drop by Christ Church. Tell Pilar I sent you.